Hey everybody. Last time in class we looked at different parts of expressions, and a lot of the expressions we looked at were pretty long and complicated. Today we're going to figure out a way that we can make these expressions shorter and a little more simple. And the way we're going to do that is by combining like terms. We talked about like terms in class. For instance, in our first example here, we have 4a plus 2b plus 6a plus 5b. Now, I know my like terms are terms that have the same variables. So, for instance, I know that 4a and 6a are like terms, and I also know that 2b and 5b are like terms. Using the commutative property of addition, the commutative property tells us that we can rearrange an addition expression and still have it equal the same thing, still be equivalent. So if I rearrange these terms to put the like terms next to each other, I have 4a plus 6a plus 2b plus 5b. As long as this is all addition, I can rearrange these terms however I want. And now that I have them right next to each other, we can do what's called combining like terms. Since I have 4 a's here, and I'm going to add 6 a's, that's going to give me 10 a's total, or 10a. Same thing here, I have 2b and 5b. When I put those together, that's going to be 7b. 2 plus 5 is 7. And here is my simplified form of that expression. We took this huge complicated expression up here, and now we have the simplified version, 10a plus 7b. We can do the same thing in the second expression. 3x squared, I know, is a like term with x squared. Those are like terms because they both have two x's, x times x. And then we also have two constants. Remember, the constants are also like terms because they don't have any variables at all. So I can rearrange this expression here. 3x squared plus x squared plus 9 plus 8. Now when I add these together, now I don't have a coefficient on this one, or there's no coefficient visible, but we know that when there's just a single variable, we know that the coefficient is 1. So that's really like 1x squared. So if I have 3x squared plus 1x squared, that's going to give me 4x squared. And then 9 plus 8 is going to give me 17. Alright, so there's a couple of examples. Let's see what happens when these expressions become a little more complicated, though. Here we have an expression that is a little bit more complicated because we have some subtraction going on. It's not just addition anymore, and this makes it more complicated. When it's just addition, we can rearrange the terms however we like, but in subtraction the order matters, right? If I do 6 minus 2, I get 4, but if I do 2 minus 6, I'm going to get negative 4. So one way we can fix this is by rewriting this as just addition. And remember, we learned how to do this when we were subtracting positive and negative numbers. So I can rewrite negative 5x, that's not going to change, plus 8x, that's already addition, so that stays. And now this minus 11, I'm going to change that to plus negative 11, and negative 6x, or minus 6x, is going to become plus negative 6x. So see, now we have this problem where it's just addition. We're only adding these different terms together. Now I can rearrange these. That's our second step we want to do. We want to rearrange them so that all of the like terms are near each other. So I have an x term here, I have an x term here, and an x term here. I'm going to rewrite this so that those are all next to each other. Negative 5x plus 8x plus negative 6x plus negative 11. Now, when I combine like terms, I'm just going to add together the terms that are like terms. I have negative 5x plus 8x, and then I have negative 6x here too, but I'm just going to do one step at a time. Negative 5x plus 8x, that's going to give me 3x plus negative 6x. Remember, order of operations, we always work left to right when we're doing addition. And now 3x plus negative 6x. Now those have different signs. 3 plus negative 6 is going to give me negative 3x plus negative 11. So now there I have, I've combined all my terms. Now I want to write this expression as simply as possible. So our last step here is very important when we're trying to simplify things. We want to make sure our signs are written simply. Now instead of plus negative 11, I'm going to rewrite this as minus 11. So that way we have this expression written out as simply as possible. Alright, let's try this a couple more times just to get the hang of it. Remember, our first step we're going to rewrite using only addition. So I have 12x, our first term is not going to change, minus y is going to become plus negative y, minus 6y is going to become plus negative 6y, plus x. So now this is written just using just addition. We can use the commutative property of addition to rearrange the terms. 12x plus x, there I have my x terms next to each other, plus negative y plus negative 6y, right? All my like terms next to each other. Now we can combine the like terms. I have 12x plus x. Remember, that's like a 1x. So 12 plus 1 is 13. It's going to give me 13x. Now I have my y terms. Here I have negative y. That's like a negative 1y plus negative 6y. So negative 1 plus negative 6 is going to give me negative 7. So plus negative 7y. And now I can simplify my signs. Plus a negative, remember, is the same as subtraction. So we're going to change this to minus 7y. 13x minus 7y. I don't have any more like terms. This is as simple as this one is going to get. Alright, here's our last example. We're going to do the same steps. First step is rewrite using only addition. So negative 14, nothing's going to change about that. Plus 6x squared, that's already addition, so that can stay the same. Now minus 11, we have to change that minus to a plus, and that 11 has to become a negative 11. Minus 14x squared, same thing, plus negative 14x squared. And now that this is all addition, now we can rearrange terms. So I start with negative 14 here, and negative 11 is another constant. So I can put those two right next to each other. Same with 6x squared and negative 14x squared. Those are also like terms because they both have x squared or x times x. Now I can combine, so I have to do some addition. Negative 14 plus negative 11, those are both negatives. They have the same sign, so I'm going to add 14 and 11. Get 25, and that's going to be a negative 25. And then I have 6x squared plus negative 14x squared. So here's a positive and a negative that I'm adding together. Those have different signs. So I'm actually going to do 14 minus 6 to get 8. And I know my answer is going to be negative because 14 is bigger than 6. So negative 8x squared is what I get for that second term. Now, very last step, once again, I want to simplify my signs. Negative 25 minus 8x squared. You're not always going to need to do that last step to simplify signs, but if it's necessary, or we can do it, we want to do it because we want to have our expressions as simple as possible.